It's a mess.
Okay, well, I'll just cut in right there. It's a mess. So welcome to New World BrassCast. This is Aaron Campbell, Tony Granados, and I am Amy Bliss. And tonight we are joined by Dr. Bryan Appleby-Wineberg, head of brass at Rowan University and solo cornet of Atlantic Brass Band.
Yay.
Hi,
Hey.
Brian.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we just saw each other at the Gettysburg
Brass Band Festival.
Yeah. Oh, how was that?
It was great. Amy's group sounded fantastic. Of course, they always sound fantastic.
Well, it's Athena, right?
Yeah, it's Athena.
I think we talked at one point about was it the full band that played, or was it a small group?
No, it was we all kind of rotated in, and there was a lot of like 12-piece type things, a few like genuine chamber group things. And I had my surprise conducting debut. We couldn't get Aaron's like, what? We couldn't get the we had a whole bunch of retards and then restarts that the group couldn't do, and I was the only one not playing on that one. And so at a certain point when it started not working, they all kind of slowly turned towards me, and it was like, oh man. So I got one. What?
That was for the smaller chamber stuff?
Yeah, I got one go at it and in rehearsal, and I screwed it up, and they're like, well, it'll be fine. And that was
And it was from the audience. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. It was. It's just that's how it kind of goes. You get a run through, you get a few comments to fix it, you get another run through, and we're done. We're good.
I've been running into that problem with like new chamber music here recently. Like, so I started a new music group with like clarinet, violin, double bass, tuba, euphonium, like me doing either or, and trumpet. And it's really cool, weird instrumentation. It's a lot of fun. But like we'll commission these like doctoral students, and they'll be like, yeah, 7/8 to 5/4 to 9/8 to 7/2 to this. And you're like, we're 5 people, you know that, right? Like we're just by ourselves. And if you want this to be played again, I suggest 2/4, 4/4. Those are great. They work out real good.
Right. And I saw it, and it was kind of surreal seeing Atlantic play, and not being in it.
Oh, yeah.
But they did a great job. I really enjoyed
The 2 of your
that
students in the UFRO.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your 2 students.
Yeah, I was so excited to see Joe play the duet. I was like, that's my favorite. Yeah, and
they give you the old Brett Favre,
was it Justin saw me as I was like walking towards the tent, and he did like the shy, like stick his arm out and kind of
Yes, right. Sounds about right. The festival was really good. I mean, the bands all sounded great, and I mean, I think Potomac is, super polished already, just kind of amazing. But they've all been playing, and they're all pros. So, but it was a real treat to hear everybody, and of course Athena, also all pros, and so they were outstanding. And I think the rest of us are sort of hanging on by our fingernails, and just glad to be out and back in rehearsals and out performing. And it was our second concert back. So it was a bit nerve-wracking to be honest, but it was
a big
also
second
exciting.
concert too.
Yeah, it was very exciting, and the festival was great. And it was beautiful weather out there, so
perfect.
it's a nice setting, and yeah,
How
it was
was
great.
the audience?
Yeah, totally full. Big audience, probably as big as I've seen there. Really. Yeah, I think, man, my sense is that audiences are really keen to be back watching live music again. Not all of these virtual performances, which have also been somewhat fun.
You'll have to educate me. Is it like an outside festival? I haven't been to Gettysburg before.
Yeah. It's at there's a Lutheran seminary that was actually like part of the Battle of Gettysburg. Like there's fighting around there. And it's like on this ridge. And so you can look down like over the fields and everything from there. And it's just this really kind of peaceful environment. You sit on the lawn and they sell hot dogs and beer and chips, and you can just kind of hang out and listen to brass bands all day. It's great.
Yeah, it's literally the whole day. It's like from, I think the first band starts at 12 or 1. And when did you guys finish? At 8 or something, 7 or something?
I think 7, because
Yeah.
then everyone rushed out to play taps, because
They do a
what is
big
it? I
taps
think
thing.
at 8,
Yeah.
they go all over the battlefield and everyone plays taps at the same time.
Yeah.
Everyone plays taps or just cornet players?
All the cornets and trumpets from the weekend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is everyone on a click track? How do they get that to work?
I don't know. I've never stayed that long.
I think honestly, I think it's just like, oh, it's time. And they just hear each other a little bit and everyone just kind of goes. I don't think it's that organized.
Yeah.
Have you been, Tony, have you been to Gettysburg? Have you been to the
Yeah,
battlefields and
actually,
stuff?
I think it was 2017. The Carolina Gold Drum and Bugle Corps went to Rochester
Oh yeah.
for the DCA championships, and on the way back, we literally drove right past it. It was 6 p.m. or so, and we drove right past Gettysburg. It was like, hey, let's stop. We pulled off and hit Gettysburg at sunset.
Oh yeah.
And it was the most gorgeous thing ever. We got some great pictures.
Yeah.
It's a really, really, really cool place to visit. And if you hit the timing just right, the scenery is brilliant.
Yeah, it's an amazing day. And if you go into the museum, actually go in the museum and you do the whole tour, it's really informative. I was there a few years ago with some friends from England. Actually, one of the conductors of the bands I played in when I was there, he came over to visit for a couple of weeks with his wife. And so we did the day out. And we took them in the museum, and in the museum there are a bunch of kiosks, and you can get information in the kiosk. You hit the buttons and all this information comes up, and one of the things you can click on is the bugle calls. And so I click, being the geek that I am, hit the button and click on the first one. I'm like, that sounds pretty familiar. And I hit the second one. Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar. I hit the third one. I'm like, okay. I take out my phone. I called George Rabbi, who was at that point my colleague at Rowan. He's a jazz trumpet teacher. He was Woody's soloist, and he's an amazing jazz soloist, famous recordings and all that. And I said, George, is this you on these recordings? He said, yeah, that's me. So he's actually he's on the Ken Burns special, Civil War.
Wow.
It's the whole, George is like the real deal. He just retired this past January, but it's his recordings. And he has a book out, Bugle Call book out with a CD. And so I've played taps with him a few times. We did echo taps together. And then I've also asked him to coach me on taps because, go right to the source. He's also a reenactor. And yeah, he's real particular about how it's supposed to go, but also very nice coaching, but it goes the way it goes.
Yeah. When I was a kid growing up in Maryland, I remember going to Gettysburg on a field trip. We were close enough to do that. And back in the early 80s, late 70s, every kid that went through there got a used bullet that has been found on the battlefield. So I don't have it anymore, but I wish I did, because it was really a cool thing. And another interesting thing about that is when I started going to the University of Kentucky, there's a band in Lexington called the Saxon's Cornet Band.
Yeah, sure.
That's a reenactment band. And they were in the filming of the movie Gettysburg. They were the band that was on the Confederate side, walking down. My friend David Hartung, the really tall bombardino tuba player, a bunch of guys that I went to school with were in that filming of that. And that was a great experience. I really wish I could have gotten there early enough to get involved in that, but I never got to play with those guys. But man, it was really cool. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I know those guys. And they're all making the film. It's really cool.
When you go to Gettysburg, one of my favorite things that every time I tell someone, they say that they haven't thought of this. So anyone who's listening, you get to Gettysburg, do this. Go to the antique shops. There are lots of antique shops in Gettysburg, and they're so cool because they're practically like museums, because they have all of these all of these things from the battle and stuff that they have for sale. And you can just go through and check out all of these. I went and there was there were letters for sale, like letters between soldiers and their families and stuff. And there were parts of the uniforms, and you could see so much stuff that was really interesting. So you can go to the museum, or you can just go to, the antique shops
and get cool stuff.
And
It's a great day out.
Yeah.
It's a great festival, and they do really well. And I think they gave people a little extra travel money this year to help bands out because it's been so difficult.
Nice.
So yeah, they treat everybody really well. It was fun.
Yeah.
So this was
okay.
What?
Did the weather hold up okay?
Oh, it's
Beautiful.
fantastic. It's beautiful.
Because
So
we don't
this
know
was
what you
your-
experience up there in the Great White North down here. Because we get something completely different. I had my backyard was flooded all of the 4th of July, and then
Oh
the
man.
hurricane was like nothing in comparison.
Ugh. My place back in New Jersey would flood all the time, and it was awful. And it was shocking because we disclosed that, like, the people who bought the house full on knew that. We did not hide it. We disclosed that it floods several times a year, and they bought it.
How did you disclose that? Were you like seasonal pool in the backyard? And they're like, that's not a pool, that's a river.
Seasonal pool.
No, we said the basement floods, and precautions have been taken to protect the appliances.
Well,
And
real
that
estate
seemed-
yeah, if real estate there is like it is here, that doesn't matter.
Right. That whole neighborhood floods. It's
Yeah. You say, oh, it floods, cool. Can we still buy it? Yeah, because you can't get a house now.
Right now. it's a little crazy.
right. That was, we were in the beginning of that. We
Yeah.
were in the beginning of that craziness, and we actually bumped up the price that we sold our house for, because the people in the neighborhood who were selling had bumped it up, and they were selling like the first day. And so we're like, oh, I guess we should bump it up a little bit too. We did. And it sold the first day to the first people who looked. It was like,
That's
it was,
fantastic.
it went on the market. First people showed up. We got an offer at price, accepted it, done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that actually,
Brian-
I have a question for you all. For
Yeah.
those of you who have
Yeah.
owned homes for a little bit longer, I happen to be one of the fortunate millennials who can purchase their own home. So I am in my first home now. And when we moved in, I had to explain to the group of people, and you guys understand this as freelancers, all of those cars that are coming and going, and all of those big cases that they're bringing. I swear I'm teaching music instrument things.
They are not
This is not a mob ring or anything weird like that. I'm not trading weapons or anything of any of that sort. And now I have new neighbors to do that. Have you guys had to experience any of that awkwardness of, like, I swear it's a trombone?
So I have to jump in and say that the first house that we bought, in the one in New Jersey, we bought a house from a band director.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So they were totally used. The joke in the neighborhood was like, oh my gosh, we have another musician in that house. They were ready for it. They knew how to live next to a musician. And then here, the one guy came out once and was kind of like, why are you parked in front of my house? And they said, well, we're actually like parked so that, my kid can take lessons from the person over there. And that was it. And nobody cares anymore. That's
Yeah,
fine.
nobody cares around me. I just make sure that if they come in my house, an hour later they leave my house, and nobody gets stuck here. And but the neighbors here where I'm at, they, I mean, after dozens of years or so, they, they're very fully used to, these big shiny things walking down the driveway.
Big shiny things walking down the driveway.
No, Tony, you have a good point with the whole, like, making sure they get out, because I have a problem of, like, my parents, we have stuff around us, and what we really have is a really good taco place. And all of my parents, they'll all go to said taco place, but it's really popular, so they're in line for a while, and they're like, I swear we'll be in and out of there really easy, and then they'll bring me tacos as like an offering for babysitting their child for 15 minutes.
Well, that sounds great.
When they pick them up late, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I teach most of my lessons. I do an hour, and the parents try to get a food shopping trip in, which usually ends up with me getting a salad or a pizza, a frozen pizza or something, but they're 15 minutes late getting their kid. I'm like, well, you okay hanging out on the porch? I got another kid I got to teach. So
Right.
yeah, if you need anything, just holler. Just come on in and say something. But I've experienced that.
We're teaching online. Helps a lot. You just click bye and you just time's up. So let's bring this around. There was one thing that I wanted to bring up with Bryan Appleby-Wineberg, who, if I accidentally call AW, that's who I'm talking to, because I always call him AW. I don't remember the last time I called you Bryan.
Oh, it's been a long time for sure.
It's been a long time. But we were talking, I remember a few months ago, was it? I saw on your Instagram post, you shared a picture. You got in a bike accident, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And
It was
he shared a
traumatic-
picture
Yeah, pretty traumatic accident.
of what he looked like after this biking accident. And do you want to take it over?
Yeah, it was.
there?
Yeah, it was.
We can laugh about it now.
Yeah, I can laugh about it now. It's November 18th. So COVID gave me a lot of opportunity for change and growth, and I actually had some heart issues. I ran the Philadelphia Marathon fall right before COVID started, and I had some heart issues during the marathon. I still finished it. Some heart arrhythmia issues, and so I finally confessed to my wife that I had these issues, and so she demanded I do all this testing and go into Philadelphia. And I eventually ended up at Penn Med, and they did a rather invasive procedure. I had 4 catheters up one side of my groin and 5 catheters up the other side. So I had 9 catheters in the heart. And the idea was they were going to do an electrical mapping, and they were going to figure out what was misfiring, and then they were going to do an ablation, burning off those points. Turns out they couldn't repeat any of the arrhythmia. So they ended up just pulling everything back out and stitching me back together and said, "You're fine. We think it's transient." But that gave me 10 days off, because you can't really play if you got these big wounds in your legs, these arteries that can open up easily. So I couldn't put any pressure on the system. So I had 10 days off, and I decided at the end of the 10 days I was going to do sort of an embouchure adjustment. And so I did that because I didn't have any playing. I was just here in the basement. It was June, so I wasn't teaching. And so I went like that. I sounded pretty bad by the time September got around and school started again. But it was close. By November, I was starting to play above the staff again, and I was starting to feel pretty good. And on November 18th, a Wednesday, I was out for my morning bike ride, and at 15 miles an hour, a stick hit. At that point, I was riding basically a hybrid bike commuter. I was moving, and a stick hit one of the fenders, and it crumpled up underneath the front fork and stopped the front of the bike on a dime. And I went straight over, and essentially, I think what I can tell is about 98% of the impact was on my face. So I got a little bit on the front of my helmet. There's a little scraped dot on the front of my helmet, but basically my face was a disaster. I broke my nose, I fractured my cheekbone, road rash across the whole face, and I had a huge gash inside my bottom lip. And what it happened when I did it and I stood up, I mean, I couldn't believe what was happening. You just can't process things that fast. And I thought from the middle of my bottom lip to my right corner of my bottom lip, I thought was gone. Like, that's what it felt like. It had just been ripped off my face. And there was a guy walking on the bike path. It's a rails to trails, about 6.5 miles in length. And at that point, that was all I was doing. I was just going out and back, so about 13 miles from the house. And there was a guy walking, and I had seen him every Wednesday morning for the whole year of COVID. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh my God." I was completely losing my mind. And he had paper towels, and he gave me paper towels, and he said, and I put him over my mouth, and he said, I think you're actually, the problem is your nose. And I was like, "I don't care about my nose. It's my chops, my chops."
Oh.
I called my wife, and I called the dean of school, because I had lots of stuff going on a Wednesday afternoon at school. I had a whole slew of lessons and a class I managed that's 200 students, and he called the ambulance. And so the ambulance came, and my wife was on her way to work, and she turned around to meet us at the hospital. She could see me on the iPhone, a Find My Phone thing. And he just sort of stayed with me until they put me in the ambulance. And then I called Sal, the band director, from the ambulance. And I was like, "I don't know if I'm ever going to play again, Sal." And we had stuff coming up. Even though we were in COVID, the band had just been contracted to play a series of, I think, 12 or 14 appearances at the Deptford Mall in small quartets. And I was supposed to play them all. And we were also doing our annual concert for, who was that for? Oh, we did a concert for down in Cape May. And it was a smaller group. It wasn't the full band because of spacing and social distance stuff. And I was just like, "I'm out. I can't play at all. And I don't know if I'll ever play again." And he said, Sal said, "Oh, look, you're going to be fine." And he said, "When you get home, they're going to put you back together. You're going to have time off. Don't worry. When you get back home, go on YouTube, find the interview of Bud Herseth, and when he ate the steering wheel, and find out all about what he went through, and you're going to be fine. It'll be okay." And so what I did was they stitched me back together. I had stitches in my nose, and it was a Rowan med school. Rowan has 2 med schools, the second university in the country with 2 med schools. And they're pretty new. They're maybe, I think, 10 years old is one of them. Another one's older, but we got it. We absorbed it late. And it was a Rowan trained doctor, resident. And I was asking about, should we get a plastic surgeon in? Is it going to be an issue? I'm a brass player. And he's like, "Look, it's deep and bad, but it's super clean. The edges are fine. I can do the stitches, no problem. You're going to have a scar. There's nothing anybody can do about that. The scar will be deep. The scar tissue will be thick, but you're going to be able to come back from it. It's going to heal okay. And then just doing the work of rehabilitation is going to break up the scar tissue eventually." So he said, take 2 weeks off. My colleagues, I do a podcast with 2 colleagues, Joey Tartell at Indiana University, and Bill Stoneman at Masai.
What's that podcast called?
It's called the Open Bell. And so
just wanted to make sure to get that in there.
Yep, the Open Bell podcast.
Okay.
We did 50 episodes this past year. And so I've talked to them, and they're like, "The doctor said 2 weeks. We know you're a big enough idiot to require 4 weeks. So definitely 4 weeks." And then I've been working with Jason Sullivan, who teaches trombone at Troy and has this stability routines, a really fantastic way of muscle development. And so I talked to Jason. He said, "You're going to be fine. We're going to put you back together. Don't worry." But I would suggest factoring the AW stupidity factor and add another week. So I took 5 full weeks off. And the first day back was the week of Christmas. And I played F on the staff. I started F on the staff. I played for 5. What did I do? Oh, I played for 3 seconds on, 7 seconds off for 1 minute. I rested for a minute. I played G for the same ratio, and I played to C. So I played F to C, and I did that set 4 times. So a 5-minute set 4 times. It's actually a 10-minute set, but only 5 minutes of playing 4 times a day. And then Jason said it has to be at least 3 or 4 hours separating the sets. So I spaced them all out. So I was doing one super early, and then one midday, and then one in the afternoon, and then one at night. And I just did that sort of religiously for about a week. And then we started adding a little bit of length, a little bit more endurance. So we're now, I think we're close to 200 days since I started playing again. And I would say, you know, I was in the middle of this embouchure change, so I'm still going with that. So I would say I'm not close to where I was before, but I have noticed some things are easier. There've been some real interesting changes. When I play fast notes on any of the instruments, they tend to slot more. So it's less smeary and more slotty. The runs are cleaner. The fast runs feel cleaner to me. My single tonguing, I think I got my bottom lip out of my mouth a little bit. My single tonguing has gone up about 25 clicks. So much faster articulation wise. Upward slurs are cleaner, they lock more. I have this really strange thing. I used to feel myself getting tired and I could muscle through things if I had to, like the end of a test piece or something. I can't do that anymore. I don't feel myself getting tired and things just stop working. I'm like, oh, guess it's time to stop practicing because no more sound comes out. And then sometimes I just don't have notes above the staff yet. So I've played up to double C, which I never had before. And that note has come out. But sometimes I go up to play a high C and the note just doesn't come out sometimes. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of hilariously messy and also encouraging. It made me a bit more empathetic with the pace of change that my students go through, like how quickly they can change a setting or a placement or a tongue position. So that's been an interesting thing. And everybody's been super supportive. I'm back in the brass band, sitting on the corner chair again. And I have a new bumper up named, her name is Paige Kerrigan. She just got married, so it's Kerrigan now. A great player, originally from Alabama. And she's been really kind and helpful and supportive. And if I need her to play stuff, she's totally into it and she'll lay it down. So it's been really good. The brass, I must admit, playing in the brass band is the thing that's helped propel me. You know, I've got to get to this level because I have to get back to doing this thing that I love. But Sal asked if I wanted to play a solo at Gettysburg, and I was like, not really.
Oh.
I'm playing that stuff in front of people, just not ready for that. Maybe in October I'll be ready for it.
I bit my lip at lunch today, so I think I'm going to take your rehabilitation program and play for the next couple of months and see if I can get back into playing shape.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could take some pretty good cornet lessons from you, but I think the best thing I get from you is how to take a hit. What it sounds like.
Right. Yeah.
We're very supportive. We're very supportive.
Yeah. Well, the guys in the band are making jokes about when we're teaching the youth brass band every Sunday online, and every week one of them, it's Josino and Andrew Goranczyk, our soprano player, every week one of them, at least one of them, would say something to the effect of, "Come on, guys, you're going to get it. You've done it before. You'll remember it again. It's as easy as riding a bike." Every single week, and the students are all like, "Oh,
that's brutal."
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Every week.
I remember my freshman year of college. I think it was like the first or second weekend of me being like actually at college. And this is my horrific, face injury story. Not nearly as bad as yours, AW, but new music major. And you know how so many of the bathrooms in these dorms are down the hall. It's not like in the UK when everyone gets their own bathroom.
Right. Exactly.
So I came back and I didn't have my routine of how to see anything when I came back from the bathroom, and I stuck my foot in like the bucket for like the bathroom supplies bucket, the shower, everything. Stepped in my bucket, tripped and fell and hit the edge of the metal bed.
Ow.
Now, the bed was supposed to have a little rubber stopper. It was a square bed, like the edge of the bed was square, and it was supposed to have a rubber stopper, and it didn't. So it was the metal edges. So people don't normally get this close to me, but but you occasionally might be able to see if the light hits me right.
Sure.
It looks like I have a little like French mustache because it hit like here, it hit like right, if you can picture a little tiny mustache, and then right there was where it hit. And so my teeth went into my gums. The metal went right in. And yeah, and it was a holiday weekend. So nothing was open.
Had you had?
None. I was just going to pee in the middle of the night. And so I went to the RA, and she was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, great, thanks. So yeah, I asked if like we could go to like the urgent care or something, but everything was like closed except for the ER. And I was like, I don't know if I need I don't know what's good. So we put ice on it. I went to bed, and I called my parents the next day, because I always have a resident doctor, because my dad's a doctor, and my brother-in-law is a doctor, and everyone in the family is medical except for me, except my mom teaches. But anyway, so they drove down and checked it out, and my dad's like, well, I can stitch it up, but it's gonna take longer to heal. And knowing my dad, he would have just stitched up like right there, because that's what he's done that to me before. He just takes out the kit. Oh yeah, this is gonna hurt. No, you'll be fine. That's my pinky. I remember he did that to me once with my pinky, because I cut it really badly, and he was like, you're gonna be fine. And then next thing I know, I'm on the kitchen floor, and he's like, okay, well you can lie down, okay, it's fine. But he was like, we can stitch you up, but it's going to take longer to heal, and you're going to have thicker scar tissue. And I was like, well, I don't want to risk thicker scar tissue, and I don't want to risk a longer healing process. So I just went without the stitches. And then after like 2 weeks, they called me in at the university and kind of said, in a very gentle way, basically, we are giving you a heck of a lot of scholarship money, and are you planning on playing with us this semester?
Right. Yeah, of course.
It's like, oh, like, well, I guess, like, however this is gonna feel, I guess it's time to play. So I just played on it and played through it, and I was like, $20,000. Okay, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna. We're just gonna play on this. It was fine. It was fine eventually, but those first few rehearsals were killer.
Yeah, one of my early teachers, Marty Erickson, back in the 90s, do you know about Marty?
I don't.
He was playing. He was in the Navy band and in DC, and he was playing an inter-service softball game, inter-service band game on the monument lawn there, which everybody does in DC.
Yeah. And
he was running to first base or something, and somebody threw a softball and hit him in his cheekbone and shattered his face. Metal plate and all that. He had to take months off. If I remember it correctly, when he got the clear to go ahead and play again, he didn't. He just started buzzing his mouthpiece, and he did a mouthpiece routine for months.
Yeah.
And claims that when he came back to actually playing the tuba, he played it better than he ever had before he had the accident. So but he had a very regimented, re-entry routine and rehabilitation through that. And that was, but that is like, wow, can't even imagine like, wow, this is your career right now. Like the flashes in your head are just like, it's over,
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was thinking, I'm either going to have to like figure out a way to teach without playing or find something else to do. I mean, full tenured professor, so I have that security, but teaching without playing.
You might have to become a conductor.
Yeah, no danger of that.
And you also, you had an out. Like, you had the opportunity to just like go on to something else if you wanted to, like take up that, job in game design that you were interested in back in the day.
Exactly.
So what's the stuff that Jason Solomon has been doing? Is this has he organized his materials? Because knowing him, he's super organized. I'm interested in
He's
seeing this
amazing.
stuff.
He does all the research. Jason's amazing. So he has designed this program, and the program is set up. It's called Stability Training, and you can find him on his website, Jason Solomon, and it's based on muscle strength. And so each note is assigned, you're assigned a time, a duration, and then a ratio of how much you play to how much you don't play for each note. And then the work is between like 6 minutes and 20 minutes. And so he does a testing thing for you, like how strong your face actually is. And then he just graphs it on a chart. And the graph has, as the notes get higher, the graph falls off, right? You can't play as long. It's not as clean. You don't have as much stability. And then he just programs you in for the next little ratchet to keep you on that, not in that, he calls it the Goldilocks zone, right? So it's not too hard, it's not too easy, keeps you right in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's been fantastic. And a lot, like just doing it. I'm doing every other day now. I haven't missed any days playing since I started playing. I'm just so thankful stuff's coming out. But he assigns it. He works with you. You can pay him to do it, and he'll work with you every single day. So I send him a report on what happened, and he'll send me back new numbers for the next day. And it's just been fantastic. So I think he's using me a bit as a guinea pig. He used himself as a guinea pig, but he has a bunch of clients who've done it, and it's been fantastic. So it is based on long tones and developing your embouchure and your muscle strength and stability. So it's been great. Yeah, just fantastic. He's incredibly smart. He's used it for woodwind players, flute, oboe, and he's a bass trombonist, so he's done it for himself. And then I'm now doing a rotation on B flat, cornet, and piccolo. And so it's for anybody who's a wind player and has to use the face muscles to make the fundamentals of making a sound. Yeah. And he doesn't do embouchure changes, but it's meant to stabilize what you're currently dealing with. And through that, sometimes you discover a placement change that you want to do. But it's been fascinating. And you just put on he's got a drone app that does randomized metronome. And so you put that on and it gives you the pitch. And so you do the pitch, you just stay in tune, stay in time, and you just do the chart. And I just keep meticulous notes about what's happening and how long it's been, and in a practice log. And I do a bunch of other stuff. So I'm playing over 3 hours a day now. And it's been, just incredibly helpful. I feel like I couldn't have done it without him. And Bill Stillman wrote a series of etude books while I was coming back, and he would send me his new etudes. And then I would play them. I'd crash through them, and I played terribly. But it was sort of a way for him to get his etudes tested, but a way to get me back into real music making while I was going through this process. So
and you were the rare opportunity for him too, because he had like a live test subject,
right? Exactly.
These things. And genuinely, like that. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel very lucky, unlucky, but also very lucky. So yeah, it's been a fascinating process, and I'm glad I'm on the other end of it now. And I think by the fall I should be pretty close to where I was. But yeah, I think it's probably the whole process going to take at least a year.
Yeah. Wow. Did I hear earlier that you spent time in England doing brass band?
Yeah. So in 2009-10 academic year, I was lucky enough to get sabbatical at Rowan, and I got it for brass banding. And so we went, pulled our kids out of school here and put them in school in the UK. And I played with a local band called the Linley Band, which is just outside of Huddersfield in Yorkshire. And then back to, and then I also played with the Brighouse and Rastrick Band for 10 months. And so I did like brass in concert with Brighouse and Whit Friday marches with them. And then I did other contesting events with Lindley, but they were on alternate nights. So Lindley was Monday, Wednesday, and Brickhouse was Tuesday, Thursday. So I spent the first 6 weeks there trying to figure out how to make any noise at all on Friday morning. It was pretty crazy. And I took lessons with Philip McCann. He was teaching at the Huddersfield University then. And yes, we were there for 10 months, the whole academic year. And my wife's from Northern England originally. She's been in the States since she was 6 months old. But so for her, it was going back home. And because she was born there, it turns out the girls are UK citizens. So they got UK passports when we were there. So yeah, it was it was life-changing for all four of us. And it was professionally life-changing for me. And just an amazing experience. But the culture and the level of playing was just staggering.
Yeah. Were you already playing with Atlantic at that point?
Yeah. So I took a year off from Atlantic. And then we changed a lot of, when I came back, of course, we changed a lot of stuff because that was part of the reason I did it, was to sort of figure out what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
And that first year back actually was our first win as national champions. So it's been a fascinating.
That was from last place to first.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, we had some dark times.
Just by getting rid of you for a year, that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. It was well worth the trip, and we had an amazing time.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Amy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to change the subject a little bit, but he showed pictures of where they were staying, and you like traded houses or something, and your place that you were staying was like part of like a church, and you had like stained glass windows in like your living room.
Yeah, it was a church that had been converted into a glass place and then converted into apartments. Yeah, so we had 3 bedrooms, so each girl had their own bedroom, and there was a really small bathroom attached to our bedroom. We had a great time, and we had no car, we had no television for the whole time. We had 4 plates, we had 4 sets of silverware, we had 4 glasses. I mean, like, we really, like, everything was stripped down, and we would rent cars to go places, and we traveled all over the country. And I went to France twice, and Sarah took the girls to Berlin, and we toured the whole country, all around, visited relatives there, and made some really great friends. It was an amazing trip, and we rented our house here for part of a semester, and then one of my graduate students stayed in the house for the rest of the time. So it saved him a ton of money, and we just needed to have somebody in the house. So, and he was doing some teaching at school too. Yeah, it was great. So.
Well, let's start wrapping it up here. Aaron, you were talking about a new feature that we were going to incorporate into the podcast. Do you want to explain what we're planning on doing?
Yeah, sure. Before though, so we're chatting off screen, audience, by the way. And Amy's like, yeah, you haven't talked too much this episode. There are a lot of fireworks going off in my neighborhood right now because we happened to win the Stanley Cup for the second time in a row. And so the celebrations have not stopped. And we've got our Super Bowl, we got back-to-back Stanley Cups. So we're doing okay here in Tampa land. But don't worry. My alma mater's football team, the USF Bulls, will make sure to bring everybody back into mediocrity and understanding what Tampa really is, Tampa sports. I just thought it would be a really fun idea to add this segment, and everybody else agreed, of doing a question of the week. So either in the comments, or if you reach out to us on our social media pages, and you have a question for us we'll just pick one from the most recent episode when we record. The question can either be towards one person in particular, or our guest if we have announced our guest already, or it can just be a question that you think would be fun to hear what we think about in it. Just some way and to get the audience a little bit more involved in the show, as well as give you a chance to get a shout out on the show as well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment on the comment page with your question of the week, and or reach out to us on any of our socials, and we'll hopefully be able to pick yours and give you a shout out and have some fun answering your question.
Yeah. Sounds cool. Okay, well, thank you, Bryan Appleby-Wineberg, for joining us. It was really awesome hearing just behind the scenes, really how you came back from that injury. Because I saw you from a distance and I knew what you were doing, but holy cow, it was a lot of work. So
Thanks so much.
thanks for coming on.
Honor to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
It's
it.
good to talk. Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
Great to see everyone.